Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Well, it's about that time. The end of an era. Daniel Craig's James Bond is seeing his last mission, and sooner or later, the baton would be handed to someone else, and God willing, we'll have a new spin on the character. It's certainly been a mixed ride, hasn't it? Let's do a non-subtle rapid fire of these flicks. Casino Royale gave us a Bond flick that was darker, more violent, yet oddly reserved in terms of said action. For all intents and purposes, you could argue it was the best Bond in years, though that may not have been a high bar to vault over, considering its competition. And I would argue that of the Craig Bond flicks, it's the most memorable, and certainly kickstarted my crush on Eva Green. All the love that fans had for it, I agree. Casino Royale was awesome. Man, remember how stoked we were for Quantum of Solace? The trailer made it look incredible. It disappointed back then, it disappoints now, and remains the most forgettable of the Craig Bond films, aside from its more notable blunders. The parachute thing? Come on, man. Even having seen it recently, I still don't remember the villain, the plot, other than a lame eco-terrorism thing. It's lame, and no one needs to be subjected to watching it again.
You were supposed to shoot her. Well, I missed.
Skyfall, a back to form for the Craig Bond films. A lot of folks seem pretty divided on which one they like more, Casino or this one, and it wasn't hard to understand why. Back when it came out, I was head over heels for Skyfall, and still am to this day. I say it's the second best of Craig Bond, but no matter where you put it, it's a damn fine outing.
Skyfall. Done.
It was around this time that the Craig Bond flicks somehow turned into the Star Trek movies, in terms of quality. In Star Trek, the odd-numbered movies were considered bad, and the even-numbered ones were considered good. Craig Bond was the opposite, and Spectre sealed that funny coincidence. Yet again, aside from its cool-ass opening, the movie as a whole is sort of forgettable, outside of Christoph Waltz yucking it up. Not as bad as Quantum, but a huge letdown and almost saw the end of the Craig Bond flicks.
Welcome, James. It's been a long time.
Well, here we are. The true swan song to Daniel Craig's 007. I've heard some mixed things about it, and even became concerned when there were early reports saying that it was going to appeal to modern audiences, essentially pull off some SJW bullshit and make Daniel Craig look incompetent just to make the black action heroine look good. I hear, thank God, that's not actually the case. Still, I hear that it is a disappointment to some, but good to others. I'm as eager to see where my opinion lies as I was when I signed that petition on change.org to remove Blobby Kuntik from Activision Blizzard. So let's get this started. This is my honest opinion of No Time to Die. James Bond, reprised by Daniel Craig, is enjoying his new life with Madeline, reprised by Léa Seydoux. However, everything comes to a crashing halt when Spectre assassins attempt to kill them. They both escape, but James believes that Madeline betrayed him and they part ways. 5 years later, James is in hiding, but is approached by CIA agent Felix Leiter to help track down a kidnapped scientist who is working on a lethal bioweapon that can literally be modified to choose who to kill and be harmless to others, called Project Heracles, and was manufactured by MI6's very own M, played by Ralph Fiennes. The man behind this kidnapping is Safin, played by Rami Malek, who has an agenda all his own and isn't affiliated with Spectre. Bond is reunited with Madeline, and jeez, there's a whole lot going on.
Why? Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. We just didn't get to yours yet.
It's not bad, but I'm still a bit disappointed in it. Granted, it's not nearly as bad as the trailers made it out to be, thank Christ. But it still drops the ball in a couple different areas. If this does get remembered for anything, actually it'll be for a few reasons, and those are well-deserved reasons, but let me put it to you this way. When it's good, it ranges from pretty good to really good. But when it's bad, it's pretty bad. But let's start with the positives. Specifically, the titular man, Daniel Craig. Now, a lot of people have been pretty divided over whether he's been a legitimately good Bond in terms of his performances. I think it depends on what movie we're talking about. Of course, he's great in both Casino and Skyfall, and lo and behold, those are considered the good ones, whereas he's pretty looked over in Quantum and Spectre. Lo and behold, those are the forgettable ones. Well, in this, I think he's pretty damn good. He's got a good mix of humor and drama, which adds much needed dimensions to Bond, making his performance the most versatile and memorable since, weirdly enough, Casino. So I say if he's not at his best here, it's one of them. And oh, that ending. Not giving anything away, but oh, that ending.
Why didn't you shut it down? Why didn't you shut Heracles down?
I answer to the interest of my country, not you.
I won't pretend that I don't miss how each individual Bond movie is its own self-contained story. And there is a part of me that's relieved to see these connected movies kind of phasing out now. At least I hope going forward. But what I will admit to, and happens to be my favorite aspect of these movies, is that it's really refreshing to see certain characters not be one and done. Vesper Lind is still influential in these stories. Blofeld, played by Christoph Waltz, has a few appearances, and my personal favorite, Madeline, wasn't a one-off Bond girl, as so many usually are. She plays a pretty pivotal role in this story, especially compared to Spectre. Hell, the only reason I remembered that Sado was in that movie at all was because I'm a fan of hers. Otherwise, I didn't much care for Madeline as a character. Here, she's improved. Being perceived as someone who betrayed James, says she didn't, separated for 5 years only to be reunited under the most unideal way imaginable, and Sado's performance is nothing short of incredible. This applies to her performance throughout, really, not just that one scene. It's the role that Sado really should have had in Spectre.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Bond.
Transitioning from the positives to the negatives, let's get into the halvesies, the stuff that was both good and bad all at once. Quick and easy out of the way, the action sequences were pretty hit and miss. The opening sequence was really good. The standout was the Misty Forest shootout. That was damn awesome, especially when it came to a certain death. But, yeah, everything else was kind of lame, kind of forgettable. But onward with the more noteworthy stuff. A lot of the marketing behind this movie had us believing that this would be some SJW bullshit. Oh, here comes a black female 007 who's only here to show up James Bond and prove that she's the only one who can save the day, and James can sit his white ass down and see how it's really done. Thank God for James Stephanie Sterling that this isn't the case. I mean, you get hints of it. Nomi, played by Lashana Lynch, is the new 007 since M thought that James was dead. She does have this air of superiority about her, kinda looks down on James, and certainly one of my least favorite dynamics in this movie is just how petty and childish these two can be toward each other. But as the story progresses, as she learns more about James, she does come to respect him, and even makes a gesture that I thought was damn likable in Nomi. So it kind of balances out.
I get why you shot him.
Yeah, well, everyone tries at least once.
Alright, so light spoilers ahead. Jump to this time code or wait until that label goes away if you want to avoid it. Starting in 3, 2, 1, now. James and Madeline had a kid. A daughter. Little Matilde, played by equally little Lisa Doran Sonnet. And this had incredible potential that was wasted. I feel like I get what the idea was here. James Bond is always in and out of relationships with women, so this would be the one female that he would be wholly committed to and fight his absolute hardest for. What better affirmation of his motivations than a daughter that he loves more than anyone? It would have shown an incredibly interesting and different side of Bond that's never been explored. This was an amazing reveal and left me interested in how this would be played out. How does it? Not as well as it should have, especially in hindsight. I kind of wish that Madeline was killed off and the movie would be an exploration of James's relationship with this child. Perhaps the Heracles weapon was in her system and James is fighting to cure her of it. Therein providing the personal link he has to the story. I'll get into that statement in just a minute. But that's not what happens. Plot keeps happening and putting Madeline and Matilde in danger, and he's just saving them. It's sad because the pieces of a great story are there and could have been truly emotionally driven, but instead it's kind of just a detail. It's a cute detail, it's an interesting detail, but it's a detail that deserved more focus and didn't get.
I have something to show you.
Another child?
Now, for the negatives. Let's start easy. I do not like Billy Magnuson in this as Logan Ash. I can't get into many details why, but he is way too cartoonish for this flick. So with that out of the way, let's get into the cardinal sin. The one aspect that brought this whole movie way down. Rami Malek as the villain. Boy, howdy. Let's pick this apart because I imagine there's quite a few of you that are quite outraged with my words. Don't get me wrong, I love Malek. He's a quality talent and perhaps in another movie, his presence would be easier to swallow. But where my problems lie are in just how fresh-faced he is to the Craig Bond story. Think about it. The Spectre organization has been built up big time since Casino. This was the big bad faction that James has been fighting against over the course of 4 movies, and Blofeld as the big baddie that's been responsible for everything that James has faced up to that point. But in comes Malek, who is tied to Madeline's past and has a personal vendetta against Spectre and has systemically attempted to kill them all, including Blofeld. One would think, this movie being the swan song for Craig Bond, we would end it on one final confrontation between Bond and Blofeld, the villain that's been built up for years. But nope, Blofeld is a side character, and Safin is the new big bad, whom we've not known anything about, has never been hinted at in these movies. He's just there.
Why would I do anything for you?
Because I am a man willing to kill the person you love most.
To make matters even worse, this doesn't even feel like it should be a James Bond story. He's so detached from the events playing out. Again, one of the big draws of these films is how personal it's always been with James, how Spectre has influenced his life, and Spectre being controlled by a self-proclaimed brother of James in Blofeld. James had everything to do with these events. But with Safin? He's after Spectre and Madeline, not James. James is literally just thrown into this situation because insert forced and semi-impersonal reasons here. He's only the main protagonist because, yeah, it's a 007 movie and moviegoers expect 007 to play a big part in it. I would think they would also prefer a story that James has a direct link to the events playing out other than the woman he kind of loves.
Stay out of it. This has nothing to do with you.
It does.
And last but not least, all of this could be relatively forgiven if Safin was a good villain. If he had a threat factor to him. If he had a presence that sent a chill down my spine, but No, he's yet another soft-spoken, eloquent gentleman who wants what every lower-tiered Bond villain wants.
Try to take over the world.
Well, it's closer to the whole cleansing of the world for who gives a shit hoity-toity reasons, but that's the gist of it. And really, this is the last Craig Bond villain we're going out with? Freddie Mercury trying to conquer the world? Actually, I would pay good money to watch that. Everything else in Bohemian Rhapsody was bullshit, so why not throw something legit entertaining in addition to the Live Aid scene? Point is, this is the last Craig Bond villain in these movies, and it's a complete joke.
So here I am, their invisible god, sneaking under their skin.
I won't pretend that this didn't have good stuff in it. Craig as Bond is great. Sado back as the Bond girl, that's refreshing, and I love some of the ideas that were presented. However, when lined up with the subpar execution of those good ideas, as well as the travesty that is the villain, you have a pretty mixed bag. It's almost good, and in some ways, it's great. But where it's not, cripples the entire experience. It's got a lot of good, it's got a lot of bad, so it's just okay. My honest rating for No Time to Die, a 3 out of 5.
Report 007.
Thank you.
007?
That must bother you.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.